What's up? Thanks for coming by. I'm Jeremy, and in honor of the release of Blade Runner 2049, which is hitting theaters this weekend, I thought I'd go back and review the 1982 film. So just yesterday, I was talking to Victoria about how excited I am to go see Blade Runner this weekend. I'm like, Vicky, you don't understand. Denis Villeneuve is directing this movie. And she's like, all right, cool. And I was like, no, but Roger Deakins is doing the cinematography. And she's like, all right, awesome. And I'm like, and Harrison Ford's reprising his role as Deckard. And she's like, cool. So do you think I should see the first one before we go? And I was like, you've never seen Blade Runner? And she's like, no. So, of course, we went back and watched it last night. And I was aware that there are multiple versions of this film. What I was not aware of is that there are 5 of them. Everybody always says the final cut is the quintessential version of the movie. And I think it's Harrison Ford's favorite version, for whatever that's worth. But lo and behold, I couldn't find it. But I did find the Ultra HD digitally restored director's cut of the film, and I was like, well, that sounds cool. That sounds close enough. We'll check that out. So we sat down and we watched it, and here are my thoughts. For those of you guys who may not know, I mean, it is an old movie, so maybe not everybody has seen it, but the original Blade Runner was released in 1982. It's directed by none other than Ridley Scott, who just 3 years previous had done the Alien film. It stars Harrison Ford, Rutger Hauer, Daryl Hannah, Sean Young, and Edward James Olmos is in it. And it is the story of what's referred to as a Blade Runner. Harrison Ford's character, Deckard, is a Blade Runner. And they're essentially kind of cops, but more like hitmen or assassins. And he's hired to assassinate a group of replicants, or basically shut them down. They don't refer to it as killing them because replicants are artificial intelligence. They're synthetic humans. Like, to the naked eye, you can't tell the difference between them and us. This is based on a story by Philip K. Dick called Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? And it is one of the most influential sci-fi films of all time. What's interesting about it is, like I said, 5 different versions. When the original film came out and it hit the theaters, critics weren't really wild about it, which I think's crazy because the atmosphere alone is just so great and the set design and the way it looks is so fantastic. But I think a lot of people may not have got it at the time that it was released, and some movies you need to step back away from it and see the impact that it has on culture moving forward before you can really tell how successful this movie was. And moving forward, it influenced so much science fiction. The movie starts out with a detective doing what's essentially a Turing test on one of these suspected replicants, and he asks them a series of questions to find out whether he reacts like a human or if he is indeed synthetic. And it reminded me almost right off the bat of Ex Machina, which was a great movie that came out a couple years ago where they do the Turing test. Deckard is hired to pursue these replicants that have gone rogue, and at the same time, he meets the creator of the replicants, who has a new model, a very sophisticated model played by Sean Young. And he starts to have feelings and get into a relationship with this replicant, and it explores, what it means to be human. While Harrison Ford will follow orders blindly, he doesn't obviously have very close emotional ties to other people, and definitely not to these things that he just views as machines or as property. And in the meantime, these replicants, the rogue ones, are kind of like wondering what it means to be alive. They've only got a 4-year lifespan, and they're dealing with very human things. So it does play up this interesting dynamic of who's really more human here, this person who is viewed as the hero of the story, or the ones that are viewed as the villains. I think that the performance that Rutger Hauer gives as Roy Batty is one for the ages. The big speech that he gives at the end is partially improvised, which is brilliant. And we get the regular, kind of fish out of water, rough around the edges character that Harrison Ford does so very well. The score is incredible, one of the biggest selling points to me. And then just the look of the future, which went on to influence everything from The Matrix, Ghost in the Shell, Children of Men. There are so many examples of movies that owe so much to what we got in Blade Runner. And towards the end of the movie, these replicants, they do and they say things and they behave really strangely. And, you know, you can write it off to the acting, which I'm sure that does play a factor in it. But I think a lot of their weird mannerisms toward the end is because they're starting to malfunction because they've only got a 4-year lifespan. Roy's acting batty at that time, and I didn't understand there's like this cat and mouse game, and there's multiple opportunities when Roy clearly could have taken Deckard out, but he doesn't. And I think that, again, that it's to show Deckard that these guys really are feeling. They really do have empathy and sympathy and wants and needs and desires. And it's really complex and it's simple at the same time. And I think it's so fascinating that Siskel and Ebert would basically slam the movie when it first came out, and then years later would go back and give it 4 stars. And I kind of had a similar experience. Not that I ever thought it was bad, but I just thought there were problems in the third act. And now going back and revisiting it, and I'm just like, wow, this shit is profound. So anyways, it's profound. On a scale of 1 to 5, I am giving Blade Runner a 4.5. This is the stuff that movies are made of. It explores the kind of themes that transcend any genre. It's poetic. It is a beautiful film. I highly recommend going and seeing it. If you have seen it already, I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you plan on going to see Blade Runner 2049, are you looking forward to it? Is Jared Leto's character going to be able to compare to Rutger Hauer's character? Why isn't Rutger Hauer back? Oh, yeah, I guess because he's a replicant and he died 4 years after he was made. I don't know. I guess that makes sense. But yeah, very excited. Is Harrison Ford a replicant? Let me know your thoughts on that. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear if you dream of electric sheep. Until the next video, I'm Jeremy. Be terrible.